What's going on YouTube? I just want to make another video. This is my second video on my channel, trying to get my stuff started before the season. Don't have any warm water yet, everything's still frozen. Kind of want to make a video today, kind of just going over some of the stuff that I do during the winter time, during this cabin fever season, to keep my mind busy, keep it on fishing, keep active. You know, I go crazy. I'm on disability. I'm an amputee, so a lot of this stuff, keeps me busy throughout the winter time. So let's go over. This is another option here. I wanted to show you guys. You guys can do to make kind of a line guard or a snap swivel guard. Is take wire. This probably has a little too much on it. Aluminum wire is all I use for the line guards. Just for the simple fact that they're just there to protect the line from going up and down the inline spinner or your buzz bait here, to kind of look like that. That's a real shorter one there. Another option to do is if you have old frogs. This one, I found this frog on the banks there. I went ahead and threw some real small split shots, some weights in there, and I just made sure the holes were sealed real tight. I've actually took the legs out of these, the short strikes on these lunker hunts sometimes with those goofy little legs. So I went ahead and sealed those with super glue, bent out the hooks to make them more angled out, give a little better hook set. Kind of hard to see there. Let's see how this one is. This one came from Wish, and this one just is supposed to be a popper and would just sink. So what I did was I went ahead and sealed the whole bottom. It's not too pretty, but it gets the job done when something just comes out the package flat out doesn't work. I went ahead and kind of bent those out a little bit. You want to bend out your hooks, but be careful that you don't pinch down on the actual barb itself. Another thing you can do is go to Hobby Lobby and pick yourself up some casting and some acrylic clay, polymer clay. And the casting, you'll find it there at Hobby Lobby. This is like 26 bucks. I have it wrapped in plastic here, cellophane, just to keep the dust out. It's what I made a lot of these ones here. These ones I made off of it. This was the sculpture, the carving that I made. The one that I made for this craw unfortunately broke, but it was actually a pretty decent little design there. It has nice little kicking waves and little tabs there for the arms. I haven't got to cast that one yet. This is my newest one I'm working on right here, and that just kind of what I like to do is get it in the shape that you want it, and then go ahead and bake it, and then you can sand it and carve off pieces and add design if you want. So this one's a work in progress. Made a couple worms here. This guy's still a work in progress. I can't wait to see how this one works out. Might not have the best action, but I just like it. I spent a little bit of time on this one. Still has some time to go. So there's some cool options. The flukes are a little bit easier for me to do. Like I said, you make them, and then I like to carve out the pieces and do the carving edges and stuff like that. For the most part, after it's hard, get the basic design. Here's a nice little drop shot one, maybe the little worm style tail. Here's another option. I took a wine cork and I went ahead and drilled through it. I put a bead on the inside, and then I went ahead and put a bead on the bottom there. Now this is jewelry braid. This is like cable braiding that they use for jewelry necklaces. And I went ahead and just tied off a knot, super glued the end of that. Hopefully that stays real well. It's on a split ring with a hook. This one I just kind of made as a novelty. I'm going to be doing some challenge videos this spring and summer, trying to catch fish on some of these made baits like those there. This one here. This guy was one I found on the water. It had a perch pattern, and I just went ahead and I just kind of sanded it into kind of just a shiny copper brass, and that's what the bottom looks like. Gives it a nice shine. I added a new snap to it and a little swivel. And then these, I get these pennies at the Denver Aquarium or Six Flags. You pay like 50 cents, and then you put a penny in, and it's up to you. You could put a real dirty penny or a real shiny penny, depending how you want it to turn out. Some of the older pennies are made with different materials of copper, different blends. So this one almost has like a brass kind of finish after I sanded it. A little stingray on there. I thought that was cool. And then this one here, this one, when I sanded it, ended up coming out silver and has a little bit of copper with it. And then this side, it was a snake. And I went ahead and took that snake and sanded it down, and then I bent it to give it a nice little angled spin. And then, like I said, I put a little weedless snap on there and then a swivel. That way it can spin freely through the water. And then, like I said, I made a video on these guys, how to do these. You just clip off the old rusted hook if you find them. These were found on the banks. What I like to do is I like to sand off a lot of the tarnish, the sun-bathed material off these, make them real shiny again. I like to go in 2 different directions, sometimes to kind of give them multiple flash angles, kind of flash up some of the hardware on it, and then you just clip off that old hook, throw on the EWG. Make sure you have screw locks. The screw locks, if these ones here, I just went ahead and got some snap-on screw locks that you just kind of snap onto the hook, and then I drive the screw in so far deep that both sides of the opening are inside of the bait, so it can't come off. It's kind of stuck on there. I went ahead and did that with this guy here, this bio bait, on a number 2 MEPS. This one's on a number 3 MEPS, and this guy here, a little super glue, or a little bit of hot glue in the front there. And that's just to kind of keep that one in place. That one was a little bit harder to deal with. The bait was a little bit firm. But just like a little minnow pattern there, and I did that on a smaller scale. Here's another option to do is you take a little swivel. And I try and match my swivel to the size of the gauge of the hook, because the barb will really keep that on there. If that plastic gets ripped off, I'm really not too worried about losing that if it does come off. But that barb on that hook will usually keep it on there. So I'm really not too worried if that comes off. It's just kind of a fun little thing to do. Also, instead of putting one of these on there, you can actually go buy a brand new MEPS or a Panther Martin and make it like a stinger hook with a little spinning blade. So there'd be a little blade with a little treble hook. Just keep it off the bottom. It definitely will not be weedless. But you can actually, instead of putting a swivel, you can actually just put a MEPS inline spinner, a real small one, and now you have yourself a little stinger hook that follows behind it with the little blade that's going back there. So there's a little close-up here of the one I just did, and that's just a line guard. Like I said, I use, this is just 10-pound aluminum. It's not what I'm going to be using when I want to make a stinger hook for an 8-inch bait. This one's made by World's Worst Fishing. So like I said, I mean, you'll end up having your weedless hook, your EWG coming out here, and you definitely don't want to be using 10-pound aluminum wire that's easily bendable to add a stinger hook to the back. So make sure you get the proper wire when it comes to making stinger hooks, you know, bed fishing and short strikes. You want to make sure you do that kind of stuff. Another thing to do is the Wish app sent me a random color, which was like extremely crazy. It was like like crazy pink and rainbow, and I mean, it was just insane. So I went ahead and I took some rubbing alcohol, and I just kind of got this down to pretty much nothing. It was a clear plastic. You can use nail polish remover to get a lot of that stuff off a lot easier. And then my wife went ahead and painted it just into a leopard frog pattern. And then I added a little red around the base of that there to kind of give them something to zone in on, like an injury when I'm hitting that front hint. So there's something you can do there. And the Storm, I almost called it a bluegill. It's the Storm Sunfish. You know, one out of the package wasn't working right. So what I went ahead and did was I just gutted out that top hook that was weighted. And I mean, you can see there's a little flap in the inside there. That's where that big old weight was sitting in the bottom, and it just didn't have any action from the get-go. So what I went ahead and did was I went ahead and cut it to where the hook's just hanging out top of that fin there. And this actually has pretty good action coming through the water, and it matches up pretty good. So this would be a good stained or dirty water bait for this spring. You know, with that fresh water coming into the reservoirs and stuff, can murky things up. So there's a couple options there. If you go to your Goodwill or whatever, you usually find some old tanks. This is just like a little 10-gallon tank here, and this I just have it filled up and just to test baits, you know, just to do different things there and kind of test the sink and fall rate of some of my baits. Obviously I have a couple just for fun in there, but those, you know, this also is something you might want to do when you're making baits or you're carving baits, and you know, probably a little bigger of a tank than this one. This one's really more for the yo-yo, checking the effects, doing a yo-yo, pulling up and down to try and see the action there. But there's a little option there, you know. Oh, there goes the A-rig. That's the other thing I did want to talk about was the A-rig here. And as you can see, I love hot glue when it comes to certain things. I went ahead and this ordered off of Amazon for $6, and these blades actually went all the way down here. So what I went ahead and did was I took medical tape and I wrapped it around and I painted it, and then I took hot glue and put it on both sides, and the BB actually stays in place. So now they are all spaced, and when it's this way, they don't go running to the front, and it keep that hot glue, if you do it in the right angle, like a little Hershey's Kiss, you can actually get it to where the weeds just slide right off of it. I have this one on some weedless weighted hooks. A little hard to see there. A new method I'm trying. Obviously I replaced a lot of the hardware. I didn't trust what was on it for being $6.99 on Amazon, but that's another thing you can do there is, you know, just make some tiny little modifications. You know, another thing you can do, change out split rings. If you have any rusted hooks, now's the time to check your hooks, check the sharpness of them, replace those hooks, replace those hardware. You know, if you have any projects like this is probably a better, you know, full winter. We're coming up on spring now, but you know, like I said, this is just something to get you through cabin fever. There's the hand pour stuff and the sanding, all that stuff, measuring baits. So yeah, this is my second video, guys. I'm an amputee fisherman, amputee angler. Check me out on Instagram at amputeeangler24. Like I said, this is my second video. So if you like it, subscribe. If you want to see more cool stuff and bait modifications, bait challenges, and lure making fishing challenges, if you want to see me do other stuff like make soft plastics, hand pours, teach you how to make the casting for those, how to sculpt and design those, you know, just whatever you guys need, let me know, and you know, I can get started on videos for it. This is only my second video, but there's gonna be many more to come. So please like, subscribe, and follow me. Check me out on Instagram. I'm also on Fishbrain under Amputee Angler. So go ahead and give me a shout, give me a like. Send me your questions, send me your concerns, comments, anything you like, didn't like. I'm open for criticism. I hope you guys had a great day. Tight lines, everyone.